All right, everyone, welcome back to the Crazy Crafter live stream. Joined as always by Michael Patterson from Nat One Videos, and this week joined by our special guest Ray Nix from Got DM on Instagram. Hey Ray, thanks for joining us this week.
Hey,
Look
how's
at
it going,
those,
everybody?
look at those happy hands ready to craft. welcome, welcome to the show, Ray. So glad to have you on board, brother.
Thank you very much, Colin. Thank you, Mike.
Yeah, man, it's good to have you. How I know we started a little later today. You had a D&D session this morning. You play every is it every Sunday you play?
Oh no, so I typically run about, I would say about 30 plus players through in a weekend. We start games
Oh,
on Friday afternoon.
wow.
We have games from Friday at 6, Saturday morning at 8 in the morning, Saturday at night at 6, and then we do a Sunday morning at 8 as well, and sometimes we do a Sunday at 6 as well.
Woo!
Yeah.
You are a busy man, sir.
Yeah.
That's not a bad weekend, brother.
No, it's usually that unless I have a bye week. But yeah, our campaign world's a little bit different. We've been doing this for a very long time, so it was
Mhm.
one of those situations where, we had so many players, and this season we try to do something different, and it's working so far. So
Nice.
getting all these players together, yeah, yeah.
We just had poor Michael. Your session was canceled this week. Yes.
Oh,
Yeah, that's happened.
He's got a
mm.
he has a trapped nerve. He was the DM. He's got
Mm.
trapped nerve in his neck.
Oh,
So
oh, no good, no bueno, no bueno. You can't roll the dice as well. You can't crit with
Mm-mm.
with a pinched nerve.
No, no.
You got it. You got to get that fixed. We played on Richard ran our continued our campaign. We've got 3 weeks in a row here.
Oh,
It's a lovely Christmas gift from Richard for us. But we're in the middle of a siege on one of the cities that our players is from, and
oh,
it's siege warfare, which is something that Richard's testing out. He's never tried it before.
mm.
And the siege warfare is awesome. And he implemented a timer this week on us, Ray. And the
Nice.
timer has changed the gameplay for us.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That timer expedited everything. So 3 minutes per round per player, and then 30 seconds in between when group decisions need to be made. That thing was
Oh,
popping this week. It was
oh,
it
yeah.
was great. So we told him keep that timer, keep us on
Yeah.
track. So
I love timers,
yeah.
especially when you're able to put a timer out there because it kind of tells the other players you're almost on deck. But as a DM, when you're able to point to the player and go, okay, you're up in about 30 seconds, there's a level of an anxiety that you can create
Yes.
a scene like that.
Yes. Yep.
Yeah.
There's
Yeah.
there's a there's another. I don't want to give it away too much, but Richard's also working on something else right now, and
Mhm.
it's another two players from our camp. Myself and one other buddy of ours got together to help Richard out for this segment, and that's the first time the timed play was introduced, and
Oh, wow.
that level of anxiety and tension that you're creating, especially
Yeah.
in a one-on-one kind of combat scenario, was
Mhm.
awesome.
Oh,
So
yeah. Oh,
yeah,
yeah.
I'm forever keeping it. I'm keeping the timer. So you should tell everyone over there too, Michael. Tell your wife, like, put you on a timer. Keep you all in check.
especially for our group, because we'll stand around and talk about things for a long
Yeah,
time.
it's guilty as charged here. Um, well, welcome everyone out there who's joining us from the live stream today. I see we got Carl Eggius out there, Sanders out there, Teens back, John Hosenfeld from last week, and Gerard Boom from Shifting Lens is out there too. Welcome everyone. Welcome to the stream
Hey.
today. If you've got any questions crafting related for Ray as we're crafting today, throw them in there. But before we dive into this really cool build with the dungeon tile doors, Ray, tell us a little bit
Mhm.
about yourself. Like, how did you get into the realm of crafting? And, like, this has become such a big part of your life now. And tell
Yeah.
us a little bit about how long you've been playing D&D and how long you've been crafting.
Sure. I guess I'll start from the top. I mean, as far as I've been playing D&D for the better half, about almost 2.5 decades. So
Wow.
it's going to be in a couple more years. I'm going to be able to say 3 decades. It's funny because the more I say that, I'm just going, I don't know if it's a badge of honor, but I've just seen a lot of cool things evolve in D&D, and I think that's the cool thing about it. It's like it's that old Goonies adage, you know what I mean? It's like it's our time
Yes.
in the sun. So I love that, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Um, when I first started crafting out, I've been playing D&D for a good part about that. But as far as crafting goes, I would say probably about 2 decades, and it's mostly because
Wow.
I started off as in Warhammer.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
I would model out Warhammer stuff and then just like make terrain and kind of make it my own. And I just love doing it, mostly because I grew up without a lot of money. So it was one of those things where like if you wanted something, you built it.
Yep. Yep.
But I thought that's what I kind of, as an adult, I kind of just kind of kept that going because, when you're building stuff like this, it's so cathartic. There's
Yeah.
a part of it where it's like, it's just you and whatever you want to build in your head, and you're bringing it out to life, and you can just lower down the chaos of the world and pour all of your, angst into it. And at the end of the day, you end up with some really cool stuff that it's one of a kind sometimes, and I love that. So
I can relate to that's kind of one of the whole reasons I went down the terrain rabbit hole is after we'd been playing for a while. I love the theater of the mind,
Mhm.
and I love nothing more than just the DM and the players being able to sit around and tell a good story and
Mhm.
everyone invested. You don't need the terrain pieces, but
Mhm.
I love the small like little things on the table, and then as
Mhm.
little things entered the table, I was like, well, I want bigger things too. Um,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
and I think the first set of terrain I'd ever worked with or purchased was from Dwarven Forge, and they had a
Mm.
sale, and I bought this really cool little bridge, but I was just like,
Mm.
man, that's a lot of money. And then
Yes.
that's when our we have Ray and I are connected through a mutual friend, Richard Quiner, and Richard was like,
Mhm.
Colin, there's a whole community that does
Mhm.
this for a hobby, and I was like, what? So um being able to just make something from nothing and build it.
Mhm.
I was into model building when I was a kid too, so
Oh,
like I I love that experience of just being able to sit down and build something from nothing, especially
yes.
when it's from scratch there.
It's an awesome feeling too. It's you're putting something together that, for the most part, your players. I used to say it all the time. As far as it being in D&D, you have to be able to do theater of the mind first, be
Right.
able to capture your audience through your words and your language and everything. And then the terrain is just the cherry on top. You know what I mean? It's
Yep.
like it's going to help with that visualization, but a great story will always take you further, But I do like the fact, at least as being a crafter, you describe something and all of a sudden you throw it on the table and your players are going, oh my gosh, I'm such a visual person. I understand it more now. So love that.
Yeah. John Hosenfeld out there in the chat saying modeling is the bestest. It is the bestest. We agree with you, John.
I
Um,
agree.
we've got some of your we've got some of your previous builds up there. I threw together a little slideshow for everyone. That
Oh,
stuff that's
that's
been
so
scrolling
cool.
along. There's one in particular here when it comes up. You
Mhm.
guys can be able to see today too the dungeon tile doors that are marked with kind of a step by step process that are in the slideshow here as well. But there is a particular build that's caught my eye, and I've tracked it when you were building it on your channel. Or on your account there,
Mhm.
Ray. Is it a
Mhm.
channel or an account? What do we call it? It's a channel because you're streaming all the time on that
I
thing.
stream all the time
You
on it,
stream
and
all the time,
yeah, and I stream at like weird hours. So because I have a pretty good group in Asia, so I do it like at 3 in the morning and usually at
dude.
5 in the afternoon. So I do a lot of that. But
When
yeah,
when so is it's not a set time for when you jump on there. It's just kind of like I've received notifications. It's like Ray's going
yep,
live, and I was like, okay, I'm tuning in. It's 2 in the
yeah.
afternoon. Let's do
I
this.
think that's for me. It used to be at least, and I'll be quite honest. It was one of those things where, I used to like to having a fixed schedule and be able to do this. But as COVID-19 has come around,
Yeah.
I just made my account more about me. And I was like,
Mm,
if people want to hang out and if people want to see things built, and I'll share my D&D stories. But I think at the end of the day, I was like, this is me. And I
nice.
go live usually at like 5 in the afternoon, or sometimes I'll do it at 3 in the morning when I have insomnia, or, it's like, it's just all over the place sometimes.
I
But
think that's important. That's such an important
yeah,
note for every you know, I know Michael and I can relate to that as well,
Yeah.
about make whatever content you're putting out there. If it's for yourself first, you're in a better spot because it's a labor of love no matter what, and it
Yep.
takes effort to put all that together.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Mm-hmm.
it's a good
Mm-hmm.
note, and that's where I feel like the crafting comes into play too. Like the
Oh
craft
yeah.
is for yourself, it's for your build, but it's such an important note for self care. It should be
Yeah.
for yourself first.
Absolutely. Give me about 2 seconds. Just 2 seconds. Give me
Yeah,
two
go
seconds.
for it, brother. Do your thing. Um, I don't know if you can see it up here, Michael. I don't know if you've got it up on the stream, but there's one of the crafts that's coming along here is an insane build that I watched Ray put together a few months back. It's the one with the beholder fountains at the entrance of the,
Oh,
is it the
yeah.
monasterium one with like
Yep.
all of the giant, like, it is not a couple of goblins. It's like all the goblins in the world that are coming down the street.
Yeah.
It's like my favorite. It's my favorite one because you've been building it up and you spent so much time on the build,
Yeah.
and then you did the reveal of like, okay, here's the encounter for the players. It's
Yeah.
coming up here, but if you look at it, you cannot just. I don't know how many goblins did you paint for that encounter.
So full disclosure, when I was a Warhammer player, I was a Night Goblin player, and just
Oh,
in the spectrum of Goblin, or if you've never played Warhammer, I'm sure you guys have. But if you've got a 2,000 point capital, I'm bringing 1,000 goblins to the table, right? And that was the whole point when I would field my army. It was just like, it's big, it's enormous, and you don't know how to deal with it. But the reason on a Warhammer, when my players, they know one of the most deadliest monsters I can throw at them are goblins, because I will throw 3,000 goblins at somebody. Like, if it's like, oh, you want to play? Here's an army of goblins. And
dude.
it's one thing to say, oh, I've got 10 goblins I can field on a table at one time. When I can push at least 300 to 400 of them, that's a different situation, you know?
Yep.
So,
Yep.
yeah. So I
I
painted about, I say the total amount of goblins in there, it's probably about 100 over 200
love
goblins, I'd
it.
say that.
I love
Can I
it.
ask, can I ask you a question, Ray? Whenever you're dealing
Absolutely.
an army of goblins, do you, in your turn order, do you do them like in group?
So what I do with that situation is, in massive war situations, I don't try to get bogged down in the ruling more than I try to keep the emotion levels high, right?
Mm,
And so what we typically do is I'll organize into groups and I'll assign them percentile dice. So depending on how the commander or the soldier or the player just finds their actions, they'll roll this percentile dice, and that's how much, like, if it's like, okay, you've got a group of 50 goblins or 100 goblins, and they roll percentile and they lose 80% of them, then I'll just whack away 80%. You know what I mean? But keep the energy going with that. So it's, instead of it going, okay, I'm going to grab 50 D8s or 5 D6s, I just felt at that point, it got the point across that combat was sufficient. And if their choices were bad, that they were going to lose a massive percentage of their army as well. So that's how I usually do the group mass combat. If I am in a situation where I feel like I have to get very in the weeds, then I'll probably do something along the lines of like D6s and a range number, kind of like Warhammer would be, versus like stick to the 5e rules.
nice.
Yeah.
That makes a lot
But
of sense.
yeah.
I'm asking everyone in the chat, how do they navigate large encounters with larger amounts of
Yeah.
enemies as well?
Yeah.
That's a great it's a great way to go about it, using percentile to see how many is going. Again, I think
Yeah.
more so than ever, you know, especially in an online format, which, you
Mhm.
know, the majority of all the gamers out there now, because of COVID, we're online, and
Mhm.
that's that pacing is so important, and it
Yeah.
definitely keeps it keeps the game fresh and alive. That's for sure.
I mean, Colin, you hit it right on the head. You know, when you're sitting it's one thing for me to be at a table and I can engage my players with body language
Yeah.
and tone and different
Yep.
ways to keep their attention. But when you're in virtual mode, I have one modality, and that is, or maybe two, maybe three at my disposal. But if
Yep.
I lose your attention, it's gone. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Like, it's
One of our this was a while ago. One of our players became was struck by an enemy combatant and was turning evil, and it was being lost in the nuance of virtual tabletop, and
yeah.
you know, our group that we play with is a large majority of us are actors or in the performing
Mm,
arts, or
mm,
and so we,
mhm.
you know, we're invested in this game.
Yeah.
And he started, because it was being lost, and he was like, no, really, you need to pay attention to what I'm doing. Like, he started,
Yeah.
like, he's like, no, really, I'm fine. So he'd be entering sideways, like, at the
Oh,
camera. He was playing around with the camera angles. So he would, like, enter
oh,
sideways, and he's like,
yeah.
everything's normal for me. And we're like, okay, now we
Yeah.
know something's up. So I,
Oh,
it's so, it's such a challenging component right now to
yeah.
maintain that level of emotion, the stakes. But it's so, that's again, I'm convinced
Hmm.
this at the end of this pandemic, it's going to uh impact everyone when they're able to return to the tabletop in person,
Yeah.
and
Hmm.
everyone's being forced to be creative, even more creative now,
Sure,
to
sure.
maintain that. So
Yeah, and I would even say there are some things though that I do like about being virtual, and it's something I've done in my horror games
mm,
or my horror scenarios. I'll actually record the voices of the players as they're giving actions, and during their sessions, like when I try to invoke madness or invoke anxiety,
yep.
I'll play the audio, and it's like, wait, who said that? The reason why is because the minute you cut their camera off and you say go left and you play that, and all of a sudden you hear someone go, I didn't say that. I didn't say that, and then you record that, and when they're saying an action you go, I didn't say it. It confuses everybody. But the cool thing about that is you couldn't do that in a face-to-face session
Right.
because you can't ask everybody you know what I mean. I love that as far as an angle. But
Yep. Yep.
mm,
Well, this is fantastic. I think we came here to craft and build some stuff too.
sure.
So let's get those happy hands of yours, and those, I don't know if we've revealed the scissors yet. I don't know. I don't want to ruin the
Oh,
surprise yet. We should
yeah,
wait for
yeah.
it until we need them. Like, they're amazing. Ray's got special scissors today. Um,
Oh my gosh, yeah, yeah,
well,
yeah.
on this is a perfect segue. Gerard Boom is asking, the modular tiles that we're about
Hmm.
to build right now. What is the what's the measurements? What are we
Sure, sure.
sizing up and building here today?
Sure. So we'll begin with, I think the easiest way to deal with it is like, let's look at the base measurements. I'm gonna get a pen, and I'm gonna purposely slow myself down just because it's easy for me to kind of, narrate this as we go along. We're gonna do a 2x2 wooden piece. Now, I'm gonna use this wooden piece. One reason I do it with this, like a wooden tile like this, is because you have it's sturdy. One, it's not gonna break, versus something like foam, which, if you bend it wrong, you have to deal with it flexing. This isn't going to flex much, and this costs little to nothing, and
Hmm.
this to me makes my tiles kind of last a very long time.
Nice. I
Yeah,
like that.
2x2. Yeah, and then what we'll do from there is then we're going to just take a piece and put it on top. But before we do that, we're going to go ahead and build the door, and we'll build it on
Oh.
this, because what we're going to do is we're going to pose it here,
Hmm.
and I'm going to show you how to build the very bottom of this with a different material,
Okay.
just to throw a little bit of a curveball today,
Love it.
because this kind of segues into why does Ray have the special scissors. Uh, I left a whole bunch of crafting supplies, and so today I ran out of my scissors. I'm like, the most important thing I needed to cut with today. So I ran off to the store and I grabbed a pair of these, and
Perfect.
yeah, let's just see where it goes. I figured, hey, you know what? And there's a whole bunch of other supplies I got. So I guess we'll just start from there, I guess.
That sounds great, Ray.
Excellent, excellent. So I guess the first thing you want to do is you've got this, 2x2, and I guess that's the other one you always ask the question is, how high should I make these tiles?
Mm.
I like to go, if I'm going to make these dungeon tiles, specifically with this door, I go for the full just 2 inches. I know some people like to do an inch and a half. The reason why I do it 2 inches is because if you get like a standard mini, they're usually under, if I could turn this to the side,
Yeah.
get a standard mini, they're usually under this roof part here. But the cool thing about this is that if you get enough modular tiles, well, then you can just put like a building on top of it, and congratulations, you have a second floor.
Oh,
So
nice.
that's why I shoot for a 2 inch height on the walls, and it also makes it easy for me to measure because it's like, okay, everything's 2x2.
Right.
So one thing I will say during my builds, it's keep it simple. Like, you don't need a bunch of like advanced this and this. I just don't convolute it with a whole bunch of things that are just going to frustrate you. You know what I mean? So that's the reason why I kind of just do that as far as keep it simple. So let's go ahead and build our door. Just like I do from here, I'm using popsicle stir sticks
Okay.
or coffee stir sticks.
Yep.
You can get these in many locations. I
Starbucks.
find Starbucks, yeah. I buy my coffee and then I grab a few extra and sure everybody else does.
I get a little liberal with I'm like, I really like to stir my coffee.
Yeah, right. Yeah. So I'll show you a little technique I do with these that I find very
Okay.
easy. Let me know if the depth is good enough. If I need to bring it down just to get a little bit more clear, let me know if I need to, as far as the camera goes.
It looks good right now. It looks good, Ray.
Okay, so what I'll do here, the first beam that you want to do is just kind of let's look at like what are you trying to do. I'm gonna try to get. After doing this so many times, I know that it's about 4 popsicle sticks or coffee stir sticks wide. So you want to get about 4 of them together. Okay. And here's the other point. And remember, I was telling you about things that keep you relaxed. Like this whole part is a cathartic process, right?
Yep.
I'm not going to worry if I'm going to cut these straight. Okay. And the reason I'm going to get them about approximations because I'm going to hide this under the foam, right? So don't kill yourself if you don't get straight lines. You know, you can do a really good job with this. What I'm going to try to do is get 4 popsicle sticks wide.
Okay, 4 popsicle sticks wide.
Yeah, 4 popsicle sticks.
I've got lollipop sticks, which are.
Oh, nice.
How wide are they? Because I'm cutting my lollipop sticks in half here.
Oh, let me see. If you're going to use the lollipop, though, I don't see the measurements. Let me grab my ruler real quick. Let's see. You're looking at about, Michael, you're looking at about 0.5 millimeter.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
I'm actually thinking about the width this way.
Oh.
As in how wide are the popsicles?
Yep. Here's what I got here. If I'm going to turn it, I'll just show you the measurement here so we can see. Yeah, it's about half.
0.5 centimeter.
Yeah, 0.5 centimeter.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Sorry for interrupting.
No worries. No worries. That's why we. Excellent. Excellent. All right. So once we get all 4, now the next thing on this is we're going to try to, you can try to cut the archways, but I want to show you something first, and it really does go with like some of the basics of crafting, and I think it's a technique that takes you a long way. Grabbing let's see, let me get my blade real quick. All right. So you know how you're painting like wooden beams, right? And it's going, oh, I put ink on it or I put a wash on it, and you're hoping you get some nice striations, and you just never get to where you want to go with it. What I find with this is before you do anything, and specifically when you're trying to pull texture out of materials, do it yourself. So going over here, you can get your blade. And this is the part here. If there's anything on this, the name of the game is not to cut yourself while you're doing this.
Amen.
So what I do with this is I just go down in lines, small straight lines, and you're just trying to, you're really trying to fan it out. You're trying to, making straight cuts down to kind of mimic the wood grain. Okay. And the reason why I do this is because when it comes to terrain crafting, at least this is what I at least in my head, I justify this with. A lot of it is dry brushing. A lot of it is washes. A lot of it is, trying to hide mistakes that you've made in the build. But
mistakes, they never happen.
Yeah, right. It's how many times can I hide the fact that I'm, using this material? But what I find really cool about it though is, if you leave it to the paint, if you just kind of try to paint the striations little by little, it's sometimes it can take away a lot of the focus of the piece. And so what I find is that if you just spend the time to get as much texture as you possibly can before you throw paint on anything, you know what I mean? Like that right there is going to give me an emphasis. I look at paint more of as a modality to highlight the texture more than just to be the texture.
Copy that. That makes sense.
Yeah.
Like that.
At least that's some stuff I tell myself to justify why I do this.
Well, I'm sure it's you know, much like the rest of us, you know, the trial and error aspect of the of the hobby too
Oh
is
my
there,
gosh,
and that's
yeah,
part of the fun when you like. I know
yeah.
even if I'm not the one to discover it, I'm
Hmm.
excited when I find it. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah,
Like
yeah,
when creating that new texture, because texture is a big
yeah.
factor. When it's just it brings helps bring all your pieces to life. That's for sure. I've
Oh
never
yeah.
carved the individual wood grain into the coffee stir sticks like this, and
Mhm.
I can totally see this paying dividends later on now.
Yep. It's interesting because it's called crafting, not perfecting, and so
Right.
I think that was the one for
Mm,
me was like you would look at pieces and you're just going, you know what, I don't like the way this looks, and I kept telling myself, I've said that to every piece I've built, but I felt better about it after it was done,
yeah.
and it's just kind of enjoying the process, and that's the one thing I love is to be able to slow it down and just go, this is what we're doing, you know what I mean?
Nice. Nice.
So once let me know when you've got the striations, and I'll just start this part. And I think this part here is also another important step. Um, if you line up the wood beams, sometimes your popsicle sticks aren't going to touch. Don't worry about that. If
Okay.
you look at some of those old school doors, right? It's like
Oh
the
yeah.
beams never did. There was reasons why your characters roll investigation to peer through doors. You know what I mean?
Right. Right.
So don't get stuck up on it. The other one too is when you're making an archway. I know a lot of people do. They try to make it like in one pencil or pen swoop, and that's fine. To me at least, my hands, I'm probably gonna mess that up. So what I'll do is I'll just make one half arch on one side, okay, and then take my normally would be my very sharp scissors, but I will.
Those look very sharp and dangerous, Ray. They look very dangerous. Be
Right,
careful
right.
with those.
Right, right. So then I take this part here, and at least this is how I've done things like this. I take this side and I just flip it over, and then I just trace it out. You can either trace it out, you can cut it manually, one other way, or do it, but trace it out.
This
So
is the
that way,
Oh, is
this
this
is
these are the edges to give it the curve, right?
that's correct. Yeah, that's
Okay.
going to be the archway. That's
Okay.
correct. Yep.
we've got lollipop sticks that have the natural curve at the top, and I cut one in half, and
Yes.
that's be the two sides of my doors.
Nice. Nice.
But also, just going back, I a little while ago I built a little furnace, and I used a lot of balsa wood, and I found a trick for texturing it that was really handy.
Mm.
Mm-hmm.
Was I mean, anyone who's got a rotary
Yeah.
tool or a Dremel,
Oh yeah.
and there's a diamond bit on the Dremel, and it does it so easy.
Oh,
It works really nice.
it's funny because I've got. Let's see. I've got these. They're. Are you talking something like that, like these?
Yeah, the one with the no,
Oh
it's
nice.
actually a square bit at the top.
Okay. Okay.
Uh, Later on, I'll send you a photograph in the Facebook group with Colin,
Nice.
and
Yeah, that would be awesome. That would
Aha.
be awesome.
Nice. I've got mine beveled there. I don't use that. You're talking about the Dremel tool, Michael. I don't use mine enough. I'm it's such a cool way to texture. One of our John Hosenfeld, who was on last week, Ray,
Hmm.
uses a wood burning tool for all his
Oh
sculpts on
wow.
his XBS,
Yeah.
he modifies it. John, you have to post it in the chat. It's he uses a very fine point to get in there for the grout
Yeah.
lines and creating stone textures. But I have that Dremel tool, and I never use it for this, and
Oh
I
my
need to find
gosh.
more
I
ways for it.
it's exactly that. I wish I used my Dremel more than it's collected dust more than anything.
Yeah, cool. I've got my little door here.
Sweet. Sweet.
That's built up.
Yep. So a couple things that I like to point out when you're making this door, and the reason why, we've cut our top points to kind of make it even. Again, if it's not straight through, I'm not worried about it because I'm going to hide it through a lot of the foam.
Yeah.
But I've kept it long here because now you've got a 2x2. You really want to see how big you want this door, right?
Right.
So, you can try to guess the sizes. I personally, I mean, I don't have a mini here because most of my minis are in my other house. If you put it over and you can lay it over carefully and you can mark it with a pen like this, that usually gives you an approximation of how high you want your door.
Okay.
Um, that's kind of how a way you can do it if you're, if you're ever crafting in a hotel room without any supplies because you're stuck in Paris for some reason. I'm just
Just
it's a
throwing that
very
out.
specific experience. Yeah,
Just throwing that out there.
just throw that out there. Yeah. But after you've done that, and so we'll do that. Well, we've kind of gauged the line. You know what I mean? You can cut there, or if you've got a ruler, I'm just trying to show you how to do things very differently. Um, if you've got a ruler, you can cut down the lines here. This part here, I would say you want to be, don't worry. Again, don't worry about is the door too wide or is it not wide enough? Because the last step in this is we're really going to build the bricks around it. You know what I mean? And kind of give us width.
Perfect.
All right. Great. So how long have you been playing D&D, Colin?
Oh, it's been something that it's within the last year and a half. We're going on 2 years now. I played a little bit in college, but not a lot. So it really had been about 15 years since I'd played, and then I connected with Richard. Richard ended up taking one of my classes several years ago, and he was just like, we were talking about D&D, and he was just like, if you ever want to play, let me know. And I was just like, okay. And 6 months passed by, and my next door neighbor is a good buddy of mine. He's been like, he used to play when he was a kid, and a bunch of us from college had really enjoyed it. And I was like, you know what? I was like, we're just gonna get this together. So I reached out. So it's only been about 2 years now, and we've connected. And man, if you want to talk about going down the rabbit hole hard, like our whole group. I think we lasted one session, and then we all went to Hero Forge and created our own minis immediately. And it really started with mini painting for me. And I really enjoyed mini painting, but then I was just like, oh man, I loved taking the crafting thing, like you said, man, very, very, very relaxing, very zen for me, for sure. Yeah. So wonderful.
I always laugh at it because I've been painting minis for a very long time, and I think it's like golf, right? Where you just tell yourself you're doing it to improve, and you're only improving moderately. You know what I mean? You're just trying to do your best. You're like, oh god.
Right.
So I'm gonna use wood glue on this, and then what I'm gonna do is just lay this down just like you normally would. Let's see.
Now, so are you gluing the door? Are you gluing the door now, Ray? Is that where you're gluing the door on there?
Yeah, I'm gonna glue the door onto the XPS foam. Okay. Yeah. Yep.
You are a much more patient crafter than I, Ray. I have to use hot glue. I can't do.
See that? Yeah.
I'm like, give me the hot glue. But then, I think I'm gonna be switching one of these days because the one thing that comes with the hot glue gun, it's always trade-offs in life, and the trade-off for this one, wisps for days.
Yeah, wisps and no fingerprints, which in certain situations and careers would be awesome, but in my situation, I'm like, I kind of need the tactile feeling in my fingers, but I'm like, oh, yeah,
that's true. Yeah. Someone posted recently in the Tabletop Crafters Guild, I think this week, someone like burned the crap out of themselves.
Oh yeah, that was like second degree. That was a second degree burn.
It was bad.
I'm looking at it going,
it was bad. Like, I wonder if it looked like the glue had to have like fallen and come in contact and stayed on their skin.
Well, I would say either that or that glue gun had the temperature of hot magma. I mean, I like, what? It's like,
right?
Is it 3, 6, or the surface of the sun?
Yeah, it might. I did think that too. I was like, that is your glue gun goes to 11, is what I was thinking. Your glue gun goes to 11, bro.
I'm gonna burn you and then question your life decisions.
Yep. True.
Oh, true. How are you doing over there, Mike?
Yeah, just like my knife keeps popping in. I'm finding it hard to get my knife to stay out. It's really annoying.
Oh. I will say one of the biggest things, I've loved those kind of blades, like the retractable blades. This was one of the best purchases I've ever made.
What is
I
it?
never have. It's a knife sharpener.
Oh, it's just a knife
it's an
sharpener.
old. Yeah, $8 at Target. It was like either $4 or $8 at Target. I just throw the blades in there and sharpen them out. I've never had to buy a blade for a very long time.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Yeah, because it was always that, like, where I would cut things, and I was like, I was going through blades so much, particularly with terrain,
Yes.
that I just got
Me
sick
too.
of it. You know? Yeah.
I mean,
yeah.
So you just have a little sharpener, and you that you're utilizing those you get more life out of those blades. Look at that.
1,000%. I'll stick the blade in here, drag it down a couple of times, go to the wet part. It's as fresh as a new blade.
Dude,
and yeah.
Stealing that. That's brilliant.
Yeah.
I like
and
that.
They're always on sale. There, you can get them wherever, and they're dirt cheap. I mean, it's yeah. And once you got that part, particularly you've cut foam, and it's like if it drags and this, and I'm not trying to put one of these in my hand.
Right. Right.
All right, let's add a little bit more to this. Now, this is a step that I find that's going to add to this a little bit to give you more definition.
Yep. What are we doing?
There's going to be the 2 bars that go across the door here.
Yep.
Right. What I find, and it's just an observation, and it's by no means a negative thing. I see a lot of people, what they'll do is they'll cut this to size, and then they'll just glue it onto here. But there's no differentiation. You know what I mean? Like the lengths are the same.
Yep.
You're not necessarily creating depth more than you're just stacking something on top of something, So here's what I like to do. What I like to do is get the size that you're going to have the beam. Okay. And then cut it in half.
Cut it in half.
And then, cut it in half and then put it on.
Okay.
So it gives a little bit different. It makes the beam different in size.
Yeah.
So you have a little bit more depth to the piece itself. You know what I mean?
Nice. Now, did you texture it? Did you score it with the X-Acto, or is this a wooden beam, or is this going to be a metal beam on it, Ray?
So that's the point why I didn't do it, because if you want to keep it metal, if you want to do a true metal beam, you can get wood glue and just do a little thin layer so it kind of occludes the wood grain, the natural wood grain.
Okay, cool.
And you can make it look like wood or metal just with a good gray paint.
Nice.
If you wanted to do wood, which in this situation, I think I'm going to go with a metal.
Yeah.
What I'll do in this situation is I'll just put a little thin layer and then just glue it on top.
Nice.
Yep. So let's do that. Yeah. Happy mistakes.
Happy all of the mistakes. Oh, I just cut that piece, and that piece went flying. That's hilarious.
Oh,
I did. Where'd it go? Can I get it? I don't know if I can get it. Maybe I can. Yay! Oh no, it's still it's scored one. I gotta cut it down a little bit more. Instead of cutting my fingers off with these, I'm using I felt like these heavy duty things that have been around. I've had these things for forever. I'm gonna score and cut it off with the X-Acto so I don't chop my finger off.
Oh. It's either that, I swear, or when I would paint certain Games Workshop minis, like you would take something off a sprue, it would bounce across the wall, and you're like, I'm literally paying $30 for this little freaking thing again. You know?
Right.
I'm just like, why? All right, let's see. That's cool. So what's kind of kept you guys? I think that's the other part. What's kept you guys going with your D&D sessions? Like, what do you find exciting as players?
Well, my wife's my DM. That's the first thing. If I don't play, I'm dead. I don't know, man. It's especially at this time, being able to escape into your imagination with people that you like.
Yeah.
What could be better than that?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. We were talking about that one time where it was like, D&D as a whole, sometimes everybody asks, like, why do we keep doing these things? I used to tell people it's like my playground, and I'm asking you to come play with me at the end of the day. You know what I mean? There's something cool about that.
I mean, on my end, very, very I'm a giant extrovert, you know.
Yeah.
I love gathering. I love gathering people around.
Yeah.
I like big
Yeah.
gatherings. I like bringing people together. And I
Yeah.
think for me, that's, you know, that's something that D&D is always a time for everyone to
Mm-hmm.
um, just sit down and connect.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, I think you said it very very well, Ray, is to play. And I think
Yeah.
as as we get older, and certainly as, and I found this self, and like I remain an artist, and I remain in the
Yeah.
world of theater, and I play all the time. But as I get older, I also have found it harder to
Yeah.
make time for that play. And you
Yeah.
know, real the importance and significance of that. So
Oh.
I feel that that connection for me of bringing
Mm-hmm.
everyone together is a big factor for me. Also, right now, you know, everyone, we have, is it six? We have six that play in our
Mm-hmm.
campaign. Seven
Oh, wow.
sometimes. At one time, it was eight. We had a lot
Oh,
of
nice.
people.
Yeah.
And everyone had the came up with some wonderful backstories, and the way Richard is now interweaving those backstories with his world and
Mm-hmm.
the world that he's created has been
Mm-hmm.
amazing. One of the I think one of the smartest things that not as a smart thing, I think it was just a great thing to incorporate
Yeah.
for player fun and feedback for Richard. He sent
Sure.
out a questionnaire back in the summer
Oh, yeah.
and said, "Hey, what do you guys want to see in the, like, what do you guys want to
Mm-hmm.
see? How do you feel
Yeah.
about the game so far?" Like, and basically listen to all of that feedback, and
Mm-hmm.
then in turn incorporated it. So that is huge. Like, I feel like everyone's investment in the story, for me too, it's the
Mm-hmm.
story.
Oh,
The
yeah.
story that is being created by all of us. You know, you can't there's nothing else quite like it, you know?
You
It's
can't put
our
a value
story.
on that.
Nope.
Yeah, you can't put a value on that.
Nope.
It's I love the fact that, it's very important to listen to your players and really get feedback throughout the entire process. Um, After doing this so let me go to the next step so I don't
Yes,
hold
please.
anybody back. So the next step is going to be you're going to take I put together some of these little bricks. Now,
Yes.
if you've ever needed to know how to cut these bricks, if you don't own a proxon, or if you don't own a way to cut with a hot wire cutter, I cut them like I cut onions. Right? You
Mm.
take a knife, and then I'm going to do it with a small piece here. You just kind of score it down to get your size, and then from there, if this was the brick I needed, just kind of go down the line, and then make enough bricks. I usually spend an afternoon doing that, make enough
Doing
bricks
that.
that you need. Yeah.
Nice. Nice.
So what I'm gonna do here is I want to build. Now it's gonna be easy to go, okay, let's just glue everything together and then get a rough shape and then texture it through.
Yep.
Um, I tend to do things a little bit on the reverse, and it just maybe because of pain for other things. It's you grab your little. I like to do this with my foam. I know a lot of people like to do a foam ball.
Yep.
I make it more of like a Vienna sausage, I guess. But and then
There's
what I
nothing
like to
wrong
do
with Vienna sausage.
I was gonna say, what I do from here is then I'll take this and then just push it down on the
Oh
XPS
yeah.
foam bricks. And the reason why I do it like here is because what I found, and again, this is a trial and error for me. I would take the foam ball and I would roll it over the piece, and it would get texture in some places and not get it where I wanted it to, and I just got frustrated with it. So I just do it this way because if I want to get like a smaller angle, I can push a sharper bit into it, and it's just easier for me to do this way.
Nice. I like that. Very,
Yeah.
very, so texturing the individual bricks.
I like to do it that way. Now I know some people are watching it and they're like, "Oh my gosh, you would never do that," and it's fine. I think the other part about this for me is I'm the way I'm trying to achieve in my builds is I want to get as much detail in the small amount of space.
Right.
So if I and I know and I know that's going to be very contradictory to a lot of builders, because especially D&D builders, I think that's the other part, right? Like if we're playing D&D, most of your D&D players are going to be 3 feet away from your scenes. You know what I
Right.
mean? Like
Right.
they're going to rely on your descriptions more than they're going to rely on what they see.
Right.
But what I also find is when I was in the wargaming, more of a wargaming terrain, if you can pull out as many details from a small amount of space, many textures, and it changes the model. It really does.
Yep. I agree. I learned a couple weeks ago. Another one of our members in the chat here, Gerard Boom, is on the show, and he does individual texturing like you do. But after he draws it in, he goes back with the flat end of the pencil, and he textures. He'll go in, and it's not like using the sharp end; it's the dull end and swirling it around. And it's basically he was using it. It's like it's your own armorer's mark, essentially, right? Your pattern is unique to your craft. And I was always like tinfoil, texture it, throw it in the thing, shake it around with the rocks and go.
Yeah.
But after taking the time to do the individual stonework like you're doing right now, and it makes such a huge.
Oh yeah, I'm going to show you how I pull out additional details in this, because this is a new technique. I've been working on a secret project that I'm not going to even give any details beyond the technique that I've used.
Project. Oh.
But this is a technique that I've been using in that secret project that I think would be very useful for a lot of people, particularly when you're trying to pull out as much detail from something small. You know what I mean? So we'll go from there.
I only have my giant ass ball of tinfoil, and I'm trying to do this tiny brick. It's working. It's working. I'm also. I think I might go back on too. I'm gonna do a little bit of both. As soon as I glue them on here, I'm gonna. Are you just gluing them, cutting them up, and now are you gluing the archway on there?
Yeah, that's it. Okay, that's all we're gonna do is let's glue the archway on, and once you guys get the archway on, I'll show you a little secret to pull out more detail.
What was that? Say that again, Michael.
I said, let's do it.
Oh yeah.
Let's do it. Yeah.
Let's do it. Oh yeah. So now I'm gonna go back in. I'm gonna go back in after I get the archway up, and I'm gonna take. You can see it here, Ray. But basically, Gerard took the stone texture, and it's just like you just drawing it like this, flattening around, and then it still raises the edges, but then it creates these unique individual patterns within the brick itself. I don't know. I'm getting deep. I'm gonna go Vienna sausage tinfoil roll, except my Vienna sausage is deformed, so it's just this lump of coal. And then I'm gonna try Gerard's method too. I need to craft on the camera over here for everyone. Yeah. Oh yeah. You can see that, y'all. That's
I think that's the other part about this, right? Like, there's a lot of techniques and there's a lot of ways to do things, and is any one way of doing things? No. I mean, I think it's like if you're looking for a specific way to pull texture, that's how I've always looked at terrain maneuvers. I guess that's it. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of different modalities in which to get to the end point.
Yep. Not just one way.
No.
Many ways.
Many ways. Yes. It's like D&D. You just need to know the options in front of you. You know.
Right.
Sweet. And again, this is the part I like doing here. Again, there's a little bit of cathartic into it, because like you're shaping foam, right? Like you get to cut things, you can make a couple mistakes, and I want to show that you can make mistakes here, because I think that's
you can't. It's okay. Like
it's okay.
It's okay. Right?
Yeah.
Again, for you, and also at the end of the day, you know, if you're a DM that's crafting for your tabletop, or you're a player crafting for your camp, like it's a gift. It's for other people. So it's for that shared experience.
And I think, Colin, you hit the nail on the head. It's a gift. And I don't know about you, but if gifts like don't feel good to give them, then why are you giving it? You know what I mean?
Why are you giving it? That's just it, man. That's just it. I 100% agree.
Yeah, you just gotta. It's all love, brother. All love. Let's see how we can. So the hardest part about this sometimes is the keystone, but like, you know, there's different ways you can cut the foam to get to that point.
How do you go about the keystone there at the moment at the top? What do you do?
Yeah, I get a wider piece of foam because I know that the bricks that I cut is just not going to cut it, or you just got to get a wider piece to cut it through.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Wow.
Ow. There's that. There's my hot. There's my my penance for expeditious
Right.
work ethic.
And that's the other reason why I started. You know, it's funny because like necessity, right? Trial
Yep.
and error, just like we were
Yeah.
saying.
Yeah.
And I think for me is because I freehand build all the time. Like
Yep.
majority of the stuff that I build, 99% of the time, I'm going off of like whatever I have in my mind. You
Yep.
know what I mean? Like there's no set plan. But I think the cool part about that is like when I started doing that because if I use wood glue, the foam can still shift around, and I don't have to be as committed to the placing of the you know of
Truth.
the foam. So
I
yeah,
hear. I definitely have been in that moment where I'm like, oh, good job,
yeah,
Goober. What are you gonna do
yeah,
now?
right.
What are you gonna do
You
now?
essentially painted yourself into a corner. What do I do
True. Now,
now?
I wonder if I want to shape and round this. Let me see if I always
Mhm.
get here, guys, where I like get to this point, and
Yep.
I'll show you where I mark this up, and then I always try to like I want to get this as smooth as I possibly can for the carve. I guess I just did. I just worked it in there, and
Yeah,
I can bend it a little. I can just bend it. This is such a
that's the
small
thing.
brick.
Yeah, and that's the thing I love about using wood glue sometimes. And again, it's always different modalities, but like especially when you're shaping foam,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
Yeah, you can really go, okay, I need to cut this piece off, I need to cut that piece. So it's almost like it's the reason why I started doing it this way is because it's like you can I feel like it's just an easier sculpt at
yeah.
that point.
100%.
Yeah. And there's my keystone. I'm just gonna cut a straight line there. There you go.
Uneven.
Yeah.
Draw back a little bit more of this foam.
Alright. And I'm gonna show you a cool step to kind of give to help out with, you know, if you've got a little bit of wonkiness to the keystone or any of the bricks. It's always that, right? Like I was joking, I joke about it, but a lot of it is how can I hide the mistakes that I've made building this?
Right. Yeah. Yeah. It's
Like,
true. Yeah. It's
it
exactly
is, you
it.
know, it is. It's like, oh, how did you get that? I was like, it's a happy accident. I have no idea how I got that, you know?
Yep.
But I'll show you how to pull a little bit of more detail to hide that. And I'll do it now, actually. Once you get the archway through, um, I like to add stone to certain sides to kind of throw things off. You know what I mean? Like make it a little haphazard. Um, I like to whatever you can to just kind of make more depth into the piece. Now, if you like symmetry, you know it's going to drive you up the wall. But this next step is what I like to do. And it would be easier if I had a permanent marker, but I don't. So let's just do it by hand with a pen. I take a pen, and then what I like to do is I go over the archways and I'll make smaller bricks.
Oh,
So, like, if that's what you want to do on the archways. Now, in this situation, I may not do it. I just wanted to see what it looks like if you're going to visualize that.
right.
And I may do it on the outside here, right? Because what I'm going to do, yeah, originally I was like, okay, maybe I'll put small bricks here and then build out the back of it here. But what I think is going to happen is you're going to focus more on the bigger bricks than you're going to do here.
Right.
So what I'll do is make smaller bricks on the back end, so this archway just looks more natural. So how we're going to put out more texture, I'm going to grab my blade, and just like what I like to do here is just drag my blade across and make striations in the stone.
Okay.
And I feel, and it's not on every stone. It's like one, maybe, you know, you only do it a little bit on certain stones. It's kind of like cutting a little straighter lines.
Hmm?
I take my aluminum foil, I'll go again, and then just kind of get a little bit more texture. I try to round off the edges as best as I can. I'm what I'm trying to do, this sounds weird, but it's kind of like look at nature, like animals.
Yeah.
Rarely do you ever see a straight line, right?
Right.
Like zebras, like you know,
You're
it's rarely do you ever see that.
Fibonacci. The Fibonacci
Yeah,
pattern.
exactly,
Mm-hmm.
exactly.
Mm-hmm.
And so when you're doing something like that, what I like to do before I go over anything is try to get rid of as many straight lines as possible. Now, obviously keeping in taste to the build, so I'm trying to, on the outsides of the brick pattern. I may take my blade and just dig a little bit on each corner. I may try to, try to position the stone in such a way where I have a little bit more gaps in the lines. But I'm trying to make it where if you looked at your piece, it's going to be really hard to see a straight line,
Mm,
except in the one place that matters, and that's here on the door handles.
nice.
Because I want when my players are looking at this, I want them to focus on this piece. So that's this part of the build. So
It's good. Redirecting their focus and what to
there you go.
look at. I love it.
Yeah, yeah.
Love it.
And it's again, most of the smaller builds, like when you're doing scatter terrain like this, it may not be as important, but when you're doing big pieces,
Hmm.
it can help out with what you're trying to do. So this part's done. The archway, you should have an archway, you should have a door. And now the next part about this is we're going to start adding the bricks, or adding the bricks to the background of this.
Nice.
That. Yeah, look at that. Oh,
Yep.
look at that.
Coming
Sexy.
up. Got one
That is
too.
sexy. Yeah, look at that.
Yep.
All right. So a couple of things, I'll bring it up to here. What I love about your guys so far, great lines and designs. You guys are able to. When we originally built this, what I see a lot of crafters do is they try to get the entire width of the door as if they were seeing it in real life. Right?
Oh,
They're going. They want, but the other part about that is you have all these bricks here that you can create, width of the entrance.
right.
So now let's go ahead and add. Now, what you're going to do on the back end here is you're going to add the lines to go ahead and start making bricks on the back end. I do it with a pen just because it's easier for me to control. Now, it depends on how you want to make your straight lines. I tend not to go, straight lines across, because if you do straight lines across, what happens? You've now put your focus back to here,
Right.
right?
Right.
So what I want to do here is I'm going to make small bricks, but they're going to be that pattern that's going to be all over the place. It's going to be like a chaotic pattern, a brick going up, a brick left, here, a half brick.
Love it.
Because if the lines here are small enough and a little bit chaotic, then this here is going to be sort of the area of focus still.
Cool.
Okay.
I like that. And real quick to Ray, go back, because I was focused on the door when I was cutting some bricks. You were talking about taking the knife and going back in between the grout. Was it the grout lines on the stone for the archway? Is that what you were referring to?
So this is a technique I like to do with some of my stones. Sorry, here's if you can, I'll bring it up to here. This is a standard brick that you would put up to like a doorway,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
And what I find though is I was going, I wanted more detail into the bricks. So what I would do is I would actually go in after it's glued down, and I would bisect it, or I would do this with the stone. And if you did that enough, you basically have every brick that's times 4. So it's almost like it would almost be like you looked at this and saw this intricate detail, multiplied it by 4, and had all these little bricks around it.
Oh,
you know what
cool.
I mean?
I see what you're saying.
Yeah. So that's what I'm going to do here by hand. And basically what I'm doing here is just starting off in a corner, and then I'm just working the pen. And the piece of advice I would give here, and again, this is a standard basic technique that I think would work with any crafter, be it a war gamer, a D&D, or diorama. Black pen. Use a black pen. I've been in situations where, it's like, oh, I've got a green pen, I've got a red pen. The black pen settles in between the foam, and it acts like a sort of a shading.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep. I'm doing it.
Okay. And what I also find too is if you're adding in depth, take your pen and go over, like, push the lines of the bricks. Like if you're going to be in between here, push it here, because that same shading is going to settle in the recesses of this and add a little bit more depth as well. Also, it's like when you're mini painting and you're doing like a Death Guard or something like that, and you need to ink something to get a straight line or show more delineation in the piece. You can do this method, and it's basically what it is just keeping your pen going around the known structures and kind of settling in the shading in the recesses.
I love it. That's one of the things I've always really enjoyed about the texture you've created on all your builds, Ray, on the posts that you make. I love all this individual stone texture that you bring to life in every single piece.
Thank you.
Really, really, really cool, brother.
Yeah. And it's exactly that. I mean, it's if you want to build. I remember one time somebody was telling me, and it was I was brand new to Instagram, and it was, I was like, oh, I don't know how to. I didn't even know what a DM was at the time. And I'm sitting there just going, okay, I got to figure this out. But I thought it was really interesting because you would see some of these techniques, and I was going, do I have to do it this way? Do I have to do it that way? Like I was so lost in the detail. You know what I mean? Just
Yep.
yeah. Oh man.
I'm using today, for those of you out there in stream, I really like for the some of the stonework, and even if I have a couple texture rollers too with like
Mhm,
cobblestone, stone, brick, whatever, I
mhm.
always love going back over it with that, yeah, some sort of black ink like you were saying,
Yeah,
because it just makes the world of difference.
it does. It does. And it's like the same thing, right? Like if you're building for speed, obviously using a roller or a stamp of some sort may be beneficial.
Yes.
But a lot of my builds are for my players. I don't do commission pieces.
Hmm.
A lot of my builds are for my players, and it's not saying, "Oh, use a roller." That's "Oh, I don't care about the piece." For me, it's just it's what are you trying to achieve? You know what I mean? You only have so much energy, so much time in a day. Do I want to put a lot of energy into building stone, or do I want to put a lot of energy into prepping my piece for the session?
Right.
It's
Right.
yeah, yeah. So it's really a handoff. I do like the rollers. I've used rollers in the past. I had a
Hmm.
green stuff rollers. I
Yep.
think that's the ones. But you just like you said, I always come back to this. I always come
It's
back to this.
it's nice. I
Mhm.
really like, for a large surface area, the rollers are key,
Oh
and
yeah.
I love going, but then, I'll do the same thing, like I always end up going back with the
Oh yeah.
individual status. it just
Yeah.
it just looks great.
It looks beautiful. It looks beautiful.
Yeah.
On this piece here, what I also found is if you're making terrain, um, spend the time to pick out the little details like extending out the same rigid lines. Like here's a good example. Extend out the lines that you have in the front fascia to
Hmm.
the sides.
Oh,
You know
yeah,
what I
yeah,
mean?
yeah, yeah, that's a great,
Yeah.
great
Yeah.
idea and example. Now, do you go around, are you texturing the backside of this too?
It's funny in this. I normally would if we were going to build this for like if I was going to do this for like a table set.
Yeah.
But for today's stream, we're gonna keep it there because I'm slowing myself down. I just don't want to make sure I give you guys adequate time. So I'm not gonna do the back of this.
I
Well, when I say
appreciate you,
adequate
Ray.
time for yeah, adequate time for me, it's mostly for me because if I don't slow myself down, it's like you get two versions of me, one that has 60 cups of coffee or one that had two. You know? So,
Oh no. How's the texture coming over there, brother? How's the texture, Michael? Let me see.
Yeah, good. I think. My knees are stuck under the table.
Oh,
you know,
stuck. Did you glue your knees? Don't glue your knees. Oh yeah,
oh, look at
yeah,
that.
yeah.
Yeah.
Looking good.
Looking good.
I'm enjoying this build.
Oh, and I think that the one thing I do love about this build, at least for when I was doing this a lot, just when I was making tile sets, a lot of these techniques are so basic. But if you can, when you get to like making bigger buildings or this, all you're just doing is this technique over and over and over again. You know
Yeah,
what I mean? It's yeah.
coming along. That's coming along.
Cool.
Coming. I need to get quicker here. I'm getting too precious. I'm getting precious.
That's that's how that is. That's how it is. That's how it is. There you go. Just picking out some of these little
Let's
details.
see.
There you go.
Oh yeah, John. Another John saying that he likes to use paint thinner. I forgot he likes to use paint thinner too. He taught us about that last week, where it's like
Wow.
a mineral spirit to like
Yeah.
individually go through and texture stuff. Like, and it's
Yeah.
again, you talking. It really is. It is your own kind of unique stamp as a crafter.
It
Like
is.
how you want your stuff to be textured and look, and it's just
Yeah.
another way to go about and do it and create it. It's
And I
really
think
really.
that's the one for me is like when I got to Instagram, I was sitting there going, I want to learn other people's techniques, not because, I was like, I've been doing this, but I'm going, I started doing this when there wasn't a lot of terrain crafters, you know what I mean? Like as far as like on resources online.
Right.
Like you couldn't go to YouTube, you couldn't go to this, you couldn't go to Instagram. There wasn't a lot of places to look for resources. And so when, like now, I mean, the last couple of years, it's like it's just blown up, you know, and it's so cool to see this.
Yeah, it's remarkable, and
Yeah.
the community and how tremendous the community and supportive the community is
Oh,
is
1000%.
fantastic.
Yeah. 1000%. 1000%. Okay. How's yours coming along?
I'm in the 2 cups of coffee mode.
Nice.
I'm getting there. I'm trying to get to the other side, and then I have to go back and do the grout lines. But it's coming. I'm working. I'm up over halfway done with my
Nice.
stonework. So it's
Nice.
coming. It's
And as we're
coming.
talking about this, basically what I'm doing here also is just taking my pen, and on the side stones right here, I'm
Yep.
just drawing some delineations.
Oh,
Um,
nice.
yeah, and so just to make it a little bit more extended, um, again, making it appear as if there are more bricks that we've attached this piece to. There we
Love
go.
it.
Yep. Yeah, I find it's always man. I remember when so one of my things I do a lot when I'm crafting is like I will build a project and I'll get about 2/3 done and I just get frustrated with it. I'm like, it's trash, and I throw it away, right? Oh my gosh. If I could give you like a record of how many builds I've literally gotten to the point where it's like,
You're like, I'm
okay,
done. I can't do it.
I can't do it. Yeah, I
Oh
can't do it.
no.
Yeah. But it took a long time for me to recognize that, like, save it, because you'll pick it up later with a different set of eyes and maybe you'll be able to build something from it,
Yes.
you know? Yeah.
That's such a
Yeah.
good note. Don't throw it away. It's
Don't
not
throw it
done.
away. Yeah.
It's not done
Yeah.
necessarily.
Yeah.
The fresh set of eyes is important.
Oh my gosh. I made a building. I would say maybe a year ago. I made components of a building because most of my buildings are modular. And when I built it, when I was working on this project, I was like, I think I want to add something to it. And that addition was enough to kind of create a spurt in interest where I was like, I'm going to make something completely new out of this.
Mm.
And by the time it was done, you're going, yeah, that was worth it. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah. All right, let's see. And that, I think, is all she is. Cool.
I'm writing the stuff along the sides right now.
Oh,
I'm
no
getting
worries. No
it
worries. Yeah.
along.
Take your time. What I'm doing here, and this is the cool part here, is that, like, I think, with everything that we're doing, nothing is rushed to paint.
Right.
You know, it's get as much as you can out of this before you throw the paint on there. Because once you have the paint on it, it's like you if you're gonna try to add detail to it, it's already occluded. You can't get like everything you wanted out of it.
Right.
But, yeah. So, all right. There we go. Oh, I like it. Let's keep that wood.
Man, this is some satisfying texture work. I like this.
Yeah.
This is cool.
Let's
Let's see. What's in there? Any questions out there any other questions for Ray out there as we're continuing the craft here? It is a great time now as we're continuing to add our little detail to our foam pieces here. I'm loving this. So you just use a regular ballpoint pen for your texturing there, Ray? Or is it a fine point?
I use a fine point if I've got to do stonework that's up and like if you're gonna do like the archway here. Truth be told, I didn't have one accessible, so
Right.
the only reason I'm leaning on the pen. Let's see. I'm gonna try something on this too, just to add a little bit more depth. I just want to maybe fracture the bottom stone and see if that works for me.
Oh, you're cutting it up a little bit?
A little bit, yeah. I'm just gonna bisect the flagstones I have on the bottom because I made a bigger stone piece, and I figured just a little bit there. It's I don't know if I'm gonna like the effect, but I said, screw it.
Try it.
Right?
Yeah. Do try it.
Well,
exactly. You're just gonna throw it away in frustration in a little bit anyway.
Right? Like,
Cool. I think I'm done with that.
Perfect. And that's it. And the cool thing, okay, so once you get done with this door, this is the part that I love. If you've done this with the base where you've made the stones a little bit bigger, and you don't have to, but since we built upwards, you now have a nice area where you can put your glue on, and it's going to go right towards your base of your wood here,
Okay,
right?
cool.
So there's a couple things that I like to do, and this is just I take a separate piece of XPS foam and I'll glue it on top of the piece of wood.
Okay.
So you can get some texture that way. Or what I like to do from there is you can cut individual flagstones using cardboard like this.
Oh, nice.
And then glue them to here. So it
Oh, I'm
looks
doing
like
that.
flagstone.
I'm doing that. I'm gonna
That's,
try that
yeah,
today.
yeah. So that's what I was going to show you guys, because if the XPS foam one, again, it's nice. You get a little bit good detail and you get a nice texture to it. But this is something that I like to do when I've got cereal boxes left over. And I'll do that here. And what I'll do is I'll cut a nice strip, just kind of the rough area that I want my flagstone to be. And then I just kind of go a couple big pieces.
Uh-huh.
And then there'll be a couple smaller pieces. But I try to do at least, my rule is 3. So, 3 different sizes and at least, 3 of each, if not more.
So sort of, are you doing sort of round shapes or square shapes or?
I create like round shapes, oval, like this, but I don't glue them on yet, because what I'm going to do here is once I get a rough location of the flagstones, there's going to be a number of these flagstones where I may want to have over the sides like this. So to wait, and then I'll cut, because then I can take that piece and glue it down here, if that makes any sense. Yeah. That way you're not having to cut 3,000 different circles and then, you know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah. And again, if you've got players that want to use a grid system, you obviously can make it, since it is a 2x2. In that part, I usually tell my players, look, every square is 2 inches, so gauge from there. Or you can, I like to cut little sticks, and I'll put 6 inches or 8 inches to it, and they can use that as a mini ruler. But for the most part, I've never run into a situation where the grid had to be displayed 1 for 1.
Right. I tend to find myself, whenever I'm crafting terrain and then playing too, like,
Yep.
the grid system isn't as integral for me. Like,
Yeah.
I don't need it for when I'm it's
Yeah.
nice, but it's not a requirement. I feel like I'm limiting my terrain, my craft, like, cuz it has to fit within this
Sure.
this measurement.
It's interesting, because I know some friends, and they're really good friends, and they're probably going to kill me. But it's one of those situations where, like, they believe it has to be absolutely 1 for 1.
Wow.
And yeah, and it's one of those situations where we've had long arguments on this. You know what I mean? Like,
Yep.
I would say as a DM, I'm a DM. I'm like, it's like rule of cool, kind of one of those situations.
Yeah, rule of cool. I love it.
Yeah. But I definitely have some friends that are just like, it has to be 1 for 1. And I sorely enjoy having those arguments. Oh man.
A lot of miniatures, they would have like a 1-inch base, yeah?
Yes. A lot of the Warhammer miniatures do. I mean, even I think the only ones that don't were like Reaper, XYZ, but you could probably buy the 1-inch bases and glue them onto them, which I know some people did.
Then, I mean, basically that makes it very easy to move your thing, because you can just move it to the edge each time. And you basically measure your movement as you go. You don't need a grid, really.
No.
Yeah.
Do you guys use the grid when you play, Michael?
No, actually. Well, one DM that I play with likes to use the grid, but no, generally it's free movement in any direction as long as you're.
Yeah, I think for at least in our game, especially when it comes to movement and action economy, When you're gauging distance, it's like you kind of know, it's like if I give them if they get a little bit more than they're intended to be, is it going to be rule breaking? No, you know what I mean?
Right,
Like,
right,
yeah, yeah,
right. That makes sense. I'd
yeah.
rather not have it. Oh, where's my cardboard? Good thing I got a big chunk of it. So
Right.
the small, you're just doing the is it full? Is it you're just doing the small like little flagstones for the wooden
Hey,
base, right?
check this out. Yeah, look at this. I'll bring it up so I can show you. Look at that.
Oh yeah, look at that simple, love it.
Little simple little thing. Yep. Yep. And if you want, so when I was telling you about those straight lines, things to avoid is if you want to avoid straight lines on the edges externally here,
Yeah.
because if you put another stone to it, it's going to be a straight stone. It's not too bad. Obviously but it's in that premise of like, how do we hide straight lines, right?
Right, right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Sander is saying in the chat,
Yep.
let's see, using the grid makes more like a tactical board game rather than the role playing game. Yeah, so feeling
Yeah.
a little bit confined to it.
Yeah.
Let's see. So there's also would the door fall off too much when used with tiles made of the wood plus a layer of XPS foam? The height difference.
Yeah, you know what? It's funny because the other part about this, and I think here's a finished one I showed everybody here.
Oh, nice.
Um, you've got wood glue that's holding everything down. You've got Mod Podge or wood glue. I use
Yep.
wood black paint and wood glue instead of black paint and Mod Podge a lot, but
Oh.
I've got either way. It creates a shell and it causes some adhesive to the very bottom. So, and then I spray this with like what's that? The sealer.
Yep.
This isn't gonna. I mean, I've thrown these across the room. It ain't going. And the cool thing about this part here being it's so dense, or the wood piece, this door is likely going to be the first thing that pops off, but the base is so strong, like there's not a lot of stress and tension points. So I've yet to have a door break.
Nice.
So do you across the room when you get in that one?
Right. And it's like, so that door that broke on live TV.
Yeah. Did Richard ever tell you one session he was playing with us? He rolled as the DM 9 nat ones that session against us. 9.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. It is absolutely like he was like, I'm burning all of my dice. Like he's like, all of these are going away.
Yeah. I have been in sessions, and there's those sessions where you're running dice, and it's like you get frustrated. It's like oh man, it's you roll that dice, you set up this whole action, all of a sudden just to see a 1 come up, and I'm just going, you know what? I don't know why I do this. Like I'm questioning life decisions at this point. You're just like,
Yep.
oh. Let's see. Or that's the classic one I always tell myself is, yep, Ray, you signed up for this. That's all I'm saying, man.
Oh yeah. You chose to be here. You chose.
You chose to be the DM. I'm just saying.
Oh man.
Yeah. All right. There it is. This flagstone.
Almost done with my flagstones.
Done with my flagstones. Cool.
I like the wooden base. I've never really used the wooden base before. That's a really cool feature. I like that a lot. I like the texture, and again, the solidness of it. It's a little heavier too.
Yeah. And total, I mean, and that was the other thing when I was putting these together. I've probably spent less than $1 on these.
Yep.
And I mean, the most value that is the wooden part on the very bottom.
Yep.
And now that you have stability and it's rigid, I don't have to cut very thick XPS foam and hope it doesn't warp. This ain't warping. And it being thin like this, when I'm storing it somewhere, I can have a whole bunch of these versus like really thick XPS tiles. So that's just how I've done it.
It is nice.
But I will tell you, it's like if you ever ask anybody, it's like a broken clock. I'm right at least once, and that is it. You know, or maybe twice if I'm lucky.
Are you now, Ray? Are you gluing the entire archway
Mm-hmm.
to the base?
Yep,
Cool, great.
that's it. Yep. And that's the thing, right? You can either glue the flagstones on and then glue your archway through it, and it's an option for you to do that. Or you can just wait and put the stones around it. The cool thing about using cardstock to make your flagstones is they're all the same height.
Mm.
And I to me personally, after doing this with so many things, it's important for me to get the height on the floor, because if you have a mini there, particularly somebody's like really expensive mini, I
Yep.
don't want that thing tipping over and it's like, oh man, my $400 paint job, and I'm going, oh sorry,
You're like, my bad.
yeah, my baddie,
I'm sorry.
sorry.
Sorry about that.
Yeah, right. Right.
Wait, it is coming
There
together.
it is.
There.
Now, a couple of things you can do to take this to the next level, and I just wanted to show you. I'll bring this up to show everybody here. If you want to take it to the next level on certain points, um, you can take a mini hole punch and punch out cardstock and put them here as like bolts. Oh, there you go.
I had
There
to
you
borrow
go.
it. I don't. My buddy who is next
Mhm.
door is Might and Magic Brand on Instagram.
Oh,
So that is that's I was like I need a hole punch. You have? He's like, yeah, I got one right here, and I was like, yes. So
yes.
I got it specifically. I borrowed it, acquired it. He might get it back. I don't know.
Oh,
Um, but
oh.
I definitely want to take it to the next level. So I was punching little holes here, and these are going to be like little metal rivets, right,
Yeah, that's it.
dude?
Yeah, that's it.
How many
And
do
the
you
other
do? Is it
thing,
3 per
I
beam?
like to do three. Yeah,
Okay.
three is usually good. Yeah, three gives you a little bit more detail. You don't have to shoot for the moon. And the other thing I like to do with this is cork. If you've never used it,
Oh,
I love this stuff. Like I love this stuff. And what I'm gonna do with this is I'm gonna put cork closer to the wall, because it gives a little bit of appearance as if the wall has been broken.
oh, cool,
Yeah,
Have you small beads?
just little small pieces. Yeah, little small pieces like this.
dude.
And then the small beads, you can put like a small bead on the door for a door handle. If you don't have a small bead, I've used lentils. I've also used pins on at the end of a pin. Oh, that's
Can
perfect. Yeah, that is
the
perfect.
one big bead for the handle, and then the small beads for the rivets.
That's perfect. Yeah, that's perfect. That is perfect. So this is the part here. I'm just going to glue just a little bit of corkboard to it. And the reason I've said even on during my lives why I like using corkboard, because when you break it apart, it really does create texture, like as if something was broken.
Broken off
Uh,
there. So
yeah,
cool.
like rocky edges or whatever would everybody statistically like a cliff face or almost a rock face. Okay.
Whoa,
Under.
actually on my door.
It's
Did it
hard.
work?
Door is getting glued on right now.
There you go. There you go. There you go. So you can see here, just with this little small detail with that cork in the corner. I'm
Yep.
just gonna shoot things there. You
Oh
see that?
yeah.
Yeah, and so when I paint it, it's literally gonna look like the wall has come down on that one side.
Looks
So that's
great.
how I try to add a little bit more detail into the piece. And don't worry
Now.
about it. Yeah, don't worry about it kind of having a little bit of overage, because once it dries, you can go in there with like a knife or whatever have you and kind of shave the edges to make it fit a little bit better.
Way
Yeah.
too big.
This
That I
one, the rivet.
Yeah. Well, the bead of hot glue.
Oh, nice.
Again, finding out
Mm.
that my
Yeah.
frickin' glue of choice is biting me in the butt for today, but that's okay. That's
I'm it's always that, right? Like we have to find our way with things. I uh I remember one time I was using hot glue for something, and it was during a live show, and I glued it, and I glued my fingers together, and I was, oh my gosh, like I was in so much pain, and I'm sitting there like, just finish the live, and there was a part where I was just like, it's like Stan from American Dad, you know what I mean? You just stop and like start crying and then go back to it.
Yep. Yep. You're like, I'm bleeding right now.
Yeah, right.
I'm burned so bad I'm bleeding. Dude, that's
Right.
like that's pretty wild.
Right.
Gluing your stuff together, gluing your fingers together during the live stream. I have not, knock on wood, although as I am navigating hot glue and all this, I have not done that yet. So I'm sure I will. It is a matter of time.
It is inevitably a matter of time. And I will tell you this too. Colin. I literally, you know, when you use pins and you pin like a piece together.
Yes.
I was doing a live and I'm sitting there. I didn't gauge how thick this or thin the piece of foam I was playing with. I ended up ramming a needle all the way through my finger. And I was just like, oh my gosh. And somebody on the live, because there's a delay, right? And somebody on the live was like, did we just see what we just saw? And I was like, I gotta go, or I'm gonna pass out. I'll be right back.
Bye guys. Bye.
I was like, okay guys, gotta
go. How thick is our wood here? How thick?
Yeah, right.
Things that we say as crafters. How thick is my wood here?
Oh my gosh, yeah, that phrasing.
Sander is asking how thick the base is. I'm using. I had just some spare plywood. Yeah.
Yeah, that's
very
exactly
thin.
it. That's plywood.
I think probably he's saying 2 to 3 millimeters. I think sounds about right.
Yeah. And I think that's the other part where it's more or less you're going for the rigidity more than the, you know, you can make the size bigger, longer, wider if you want. But yeah, I think that's about a quarter of a millimeter or centimeter, maybe. Or half a centimeter. It's not half. That's definitely not half. I'll get a measurement for you. Let's see.
Cool. If that glue dries, I might get this painted.
Oh yeah. My little tiny rivets. Come on, little rivets.
There you go.
I moved towards wood glue myself in the last couple of weeks since we had Gerard on.
Oh yeah.
Because he was using it with his XPS foam to stick the XPS foam together, and I'd never done that, and I've been doing that ever since.
Ever since, nice. I am getting with this process. I have like tiny tweezers that I can be making life a little bit easier. So why don't I use all the giant crafting tools that I have at my disposal?
Right. That old adage, Ranger, you gotta be smarter than the tools you use. You know what I mean?
That's no joke. Okay, how am I gonna prep? The problem is, it's not a problem. I know what I'm gonna do. I've got it all figured out.
What's up?
I'm gonna use the tweezers in one hand, a little bit of hot glue on the back end of this. Although I'm gonna hot glue the tweezers now to the freaking rivet that I'm using. No, I am.
I've glued hot glue to my leg. There is a diamond burr to my foot. I don't know what I'm doing at this.
That worked.
Man, I've been that way with some of my builds where it's like I build something and I'm going, all right, this is going to be a really cool 3-story house, and I end up with a wagon. You know what I mean?
Nice wagon.
Yeah.
A nice wagon I've created today.
Oh man,
this is great. Okay, dude. All right, I may have to be getting some wood glue in my life because I love my hot glue.
Yeah.
But I love it right now.
Yeah, the cool thing about that, I don't know, and if I can sway you over to the wood glue. So this is the wood glue I use. I get it at Lowe's. It doesn't expand, so I think that's the cool thing about it. It doesn't expand to like certain other glues do.
Right.
The cool thing about this, and this was completely out of necessity because when COVID-19 first started, I ran out of actual Mod Podge, and I don't know if you guys had it. Where like all the crafting stores were completely closed.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what I would do is I just go to Lowe's, and I was like, oh, I got to get some wood glue. Because Joe from Encounter Terrain, he's a carpenter by trade. He's like, dude, just get wood glue, mix it with black paint. Together. It's the same thing. Yeah. And voila.
Nice.
How that worked out. Yeah. Love it.
All right. I have now unsuccessfully. I have one less rivet, and
Nice.
my tweezer, the hot glue is. Ray is suggesting the wood glue like he has this whole time. There's a reason. The hot glue is a pain in the ass, everyone. Pain in the ass. I'm getting it though. Getting it. Got it.
Oh yeah, yeah. It's
Okay.
all about discovery, man. You gotta
Dude.
figure out what works.
Finally. Good lord.
Hey, look at that. Oh
Good
wow,
lord.
look at you guys are nice.
Thanks, man.
Spectacular.
Well,
Look at that.
a good teacher is helping us along. So
Oh, you guys. You know what? I think that's the really cool part. It's like if you guys bring up your doors, we all have a different interpretation of the door, but it's all the same function. And I think that's the coolest thing about crafting, guys.
mm,
It's like we all read off the same direction, saw the same image, and we all have very interpret differentations.
yep.
I love it. I love it. Awesome work, guys. Awesome
Thanks,
freaking
man.
work. Awesome freaking work.
Let us know. Let us know if you're out there today building along with us in the stream. Some of you might be building alongside of us as well. And if you are, you got to email me those images. I'd love to put them up and share them on the Instagram.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, let me know, dude. I'll definitely share them on mine, man. Because it's always
Oh, for
I don't
sure.
know, for me, it's like there's something about I used to, when COVID first started, I know I was going live like every day with different people in the community because we were all home. And I thought it was really cool because you got to meet the coolest people that you would
Yes.
have never met before.
Yes.
Yeah.
100%. And I think
Oh yeah.
that's I love crafting and hanging out with whoever. Like sometimes before our sessions, people would come over, paint minis,
Oh yeah.
craft along with me, build whatever,
Yeah.
and we'd be just chilling, hanging out. So it's that's where this that's where this live stream was born. Of Ray was like,
Hmm.
I miss crafting with everyone, and
Yeah.
also there's so many wonderful people out there in the crafting community, and being able to like sit down and get these one-on-one sessions with them
Hmm.
like is it's just it's been a trip to crafting university, that's for sure.
I will.
It's great to pick up all the little nuances and techniques that everyone has to share.
Yeah, yeah, and I think that's the part where we were talking about like there's just the exploration of different techniques.
Yes.
I'm very wary of people when they're always like, oh, you have to do something this way. You know what I
Mm-mm.
mean? Like sometimes it is taking a technique and going, let's improve it just a little bit, and voila, you have black paint and Mod Podge. You know what I mean? Or
Yeah.
like, it's all these little things because if you just go with the same techniques, you're limited to what you can do. And to be able to take material that just like before this, all this was a cereal box, insulation foam, and something that prevented my table from getting burnt from hot dishes.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, and
Yep.
now it's a door that can prevent a party from going into seeing a beholder or
Yep.
escaping a dungeon. And
Yep.
that's the part I love about doing this whole thing.
Mm-hmm. That transformative piece.
Yeah. Oh
um
yeah.
Michael, are you adding anything? What are you adding to yours right now? Are you adding anything else to it, or are you've got the rivets and stuff built?
Yeah, I'm just waiting until my door glues to the wood strong enough, and then I'm going to paint it with Mod Podge.
Nice.
Yeah. Are we there at the Mod Podge stage? Is that where we are?
Yeah, whenever you guys are ready to do that. And I know we've got about 30 minutes. So what I want to do is show you how I would paint this.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Here's what I'm going to do is go ahead and get this thing on Mod Podge. So I've got some today. Black paint Mod Podge. All right.
I might actually just go ahead and paint it, even though the glue's not exactly dry yet.
Yeah, you could do it.
Yeah.
Should be fine.
Yeah. All right. And so I get a lot of this question as far as how much Mod Podge, how much black paint. The old adage of this is that what you're trying to achieve with the Mod Podge is a protective shell to act as a primer per se, right?
Yep.
The function of this is not to make it a dark primer. What's that? Like to have the black paint act as a base coat per se. For me personally, it's enough all the black paint is indicating where the Mod Podge went.
Yep.
And if I want to have a dark coat of black paint to act as a primer, I'll do it after the fact instead of, obscuring detail doing this.
I see.
Yeah.
So
And the
you
other
go
thing,
a little bit lighter. It sounds like on.
I do go a little bit lighter, and it's mostly just and it's not, oh, my obscuring detail. It's mostly because it's if it's too thick for me, what's that called again? I end up having to wait a long time for it to dry.
Right.
So if I make it more of a more watery base to it, I put this under a personal space heater and it heats up a lot faster, so I can get to painting within 5 minutes.
I got my personal space heater right here.
There you go. There you go.
Say that again, Michael.
I'm gonna go get a hairdryer.
Oh, copy that. Go get your hairdryer.
Nice.
Right. Now for the painting.
Nice. And I don't put any black paint or Mod Podge on the wood pieces.
Oh, yes.
Just
Okay.
because,
I
yeah.
see.
Yeah, I try to avoid that. And it's sometimes it's unavoidable. Again, I wouldn't say, oh, it's absolutism where you're like, okay, if you get, black paint or Mod Podge on the wood, you got to throw it away. Now, if you get a little bit on the edges, that's fine. It's going to add a little bit more detail to it.
I'm using a giant brush for this.
Yeah.
I need a smaller brush.
Colin.
Yes, sir.
I'm thinking of a new tagline for the show.
What's the new tagline?
Crazy Crafter, sponsored by Babyliss.
Sponsored by what? Say it again.
Sponsored by Babyliss.
Yes, we definitely could should reach out for that endorsement, because we use these things all the time on the show to try to get through our builds.
Oh, what is it?
The hair dryers.
Oh, yeah.
Oh yeah, space heater's a really good idea too.
Yeah.
Oh man, this is so cool. This texture's so good.
Yeah, it starts to come out, and again, if you move the brush, what I find too is, and again, it's just what I do with in front of my space heater, is that I move the paint. So if I have any, it's pooling in certain areas, I move the paint so I can get it to dry a little bit faster.
Yeah.
Just know whatever brush you're going to use, it's just like that Mod Podge brush. Kiss it goodbye. You know what I mean? It's not going to survive.
Yeah. It's going to be a Mod Podge brush.
It's the Mod Podge brush. Yeah. It's like, what was that brush that's I remember showing this Mod Podge brush to a live stream, and people were like, what the hell is that?
Yeah, I sacrificed a new brush for the Mod Podge gods today, right now.
Oh, yeah, that's it. It's just that. It's like you just come to terms that it's invisible. Oh.
Now, do you base coat the wood on the bottom, Ray?
Yeah. That part right there, the only reason I'm not doing on the door is because I want to see the little bit of stripe. Remember the wood grain we cut in?
Yeah.
The reason why I do it on the bottom floor here is because if you don't and you add paint to it, the wood's going to want to suck it up, right? So you do that to act like that protective shell, so you're almost floating the paint on top of the wood.
Cool.
Perfect.
Cool.
Mm-hmm. I'm just drying it off in my little personal space heater. Right now.
I'm almost to the stage where I can bust out the official sponsor of this stream.
Right. Oh man. So when you guys do stonework, what color do you normally use? Grays or browns?
I like to use gray, but then I'm a huge fan of going back over it with a different color, like a red or a brown or a yellow, and okay. I like going back over and doing some individual, adding more color to it.
Okay.
If like normal, if it's the quick time, then man, I've just done black Mod Podge and a light dry brush of a medium gray, and then maybe a quick one, medium gray and white. And then I'll sometimes I'll just that's if I'm rushing.
Oh yeah.
If I'm trying to do something super fast, then I'll do that. But otherwise, I go back, I'll do several layers of a parchment, then a white, and then I always am curious too of when do you throw a wash down? When do you throw your wash down?
I throw my washes down at the very, very end.
End, huh?
Yeah, at the very end, and it's again, I don't know if it's just personal self, torment, but what I like to do is I'll take a paintbrush and I like to direct the shading versus just leave it to chance.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
I mean, there's many ways to do things. I mean, a subtle wash first, and then going back and getting darker details, I find is a good technique for me.
Mm.
It really depends. Yeah, it really depends on the structure. For this one, I will likely, I don't have any washes with me today. I'm about to make some, but um, yeah, I figured if I was going to do it that way, I would probably do it after the fact. So we'll
I
see.
see.
Yeah, yeah. All right.
So, Ray, what grays do you use when you build them up? What's your base coat? What's your mid?
So that's the thing, right? Like I typically use crafting paints to paint all my terrain. So today I'm gonna use army painter paints because I figured it'd be easier to kind of call out a color. Um, and just kind of ways I'll try to get color. I personally like to mix a lot of my paint colors just because it's, you know what I mean? It's just it's easier. I'm one that likes to control color from a layers perspective,
Yeah.
particularly when it comes to terrain, because a lot of it's dry brushing, right?
Mhm.
So it's not necessarily the color. There are techniques or there's one step that I will tell you, Mike, that a specific color will change the outcome of the paint job, and that's about the third dry brush. If you use a color called light taupe, that has light taupe. Yeah, light taupe has changed the way I've done stonework, just because that subtle highlight is really good between like it's too dark or it's too light, and it's just perfect.
Mm.
So this is almost done drying. Perfect. Let's get at it.
Forgive me while I mute myself here for a second, y'all, while I blow dry this.
Oh, no worries. All right. I'm going to start painting and I'll go slow from there. So the first coat I'm going to do is oak brown. Now, obviously with a lot of the army painter paints, you have to shake them up really, really, really aggressively, just because you want to get the pigment to settle in. And I learned that lesson because I typically use crafting paints, and they're the opposite. The crafting paints typically dry, and you got to water these down like the dickens to use. These ones here, you have to shake them up a lot. So I'm gonna do that about 3 seconds.
You're talking about your door right now.
Say again?
Are you talking specifically about the color for your door right now?
Yeah. Let's see this part here. Just gonna do that. Just get the brown, and I'll just add more to it. See, there's already. Okay. Okay. And then from here, I'm going to just go ahead and put it as the base coat on the back end of the wall. And we're going to do the same thing. This is going to be our base coat colors. I'm going to go with browns first. And then we're going to go up to gray. We're going to go up to gray, or do lighter browns. And then we're going to do a color of gray, and then kind of final it out with some traditional highlights for stone. I'll show you what that looks like. Okay. So far, I like the oak brown. All right. It's funny because I paint my models using crafting paints, and I told I was like, yeah, maybe one day I'll use army painter paints for my minis. I'm like, nah, I'm gonna use them for my terrain. Let's see where it goes from there. Let's see.
I may have to come back and re-glue my door to the base because I don't think I've got it quite right here. It's not clear.
What helps with the door on the base too, particularly with XPS foam and wood, XPS foam doesn't have a lot of. It's not as from what I believe, you won't get a certain amount of pores for the glue to settle in. So what I like to do with this is, if you get like a wire brush, this is a ridiculously large wire brush because it's the only one I have right now. But if you get a wire brush, and then just drag it on the very bottom to create those, like this line like this.
Yeah.
When it dries in, the glue goes inside, and it gives more connection points for the foam to hold down. So it's kind of like it's exactly that. It's like, instead of having the glue just go on two planes, you have the glue now going into the cuts, on the corners, and downwards. So it helps hold the piece a little bit more sturdier.
Okay, I'm going to mute myself now, and I'm going to do some hair drying.
There you go.
Oh goodness, stand by. I pushed a button and I got rid of our screen here, so bear with me, guys.
No worries.
Boop 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 boop.
Doot 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 doot.
Please forgive
So,
me.
I was gonna say, so
Go ahead.
They can't tell what I'm doing right now. Is that
They
what you're trying to say?
can't. That is exactly what I'm saying. So
Right.
the new stream, I figured everything out, and I was like, don't do this one thing where if you minimize zoom, it turns it into a white window. And what did I do?
Oh.
Because I muted myself, and I was like, oh, I'm done with this screen, and I muted it.
And I muted it.
And I muted it. Stand by. I will have to get rid of it for a second. Go away, window capture. Come back, window capture. Oh yes, it wouldn't be able to be a setup. Oh, I know what it is. It's this one. I didn't have to do all that. I did crazy things. I remember now what I did. Cool. There we go. We got a stream. We got some picture now again.
Yay!
Whoa. Look at that. Not even with the new fancy setup. I literally need to, I have don't drink on my paint water, Ray. That's what I need to have on this stream. Don't touch this button, Colin.
Don't touch this button. Yeah. Don't touch the button. Oh man.
Here we go. We're back. There we go. Now everyone can see everyone.
Excellent. So I started off with a dark brown as a base coat, and what I'm going to do now is use a lighter brown, and I'm going to shade up or dry brush from there.
And what was that the first one was it a brown?
Yeah, I used a oak brown. I think that's what it was. Okay. Yeah, oak brown. Yeah. I figured it'd be easier to kind of go there because I know some people are more mini painters sometimes.
Yep.
And they may have army painter models. But again, the other one too, I will say, is that if you are painting terrain, at least for me, that's all you need. They're like $1. You know what I mean? Like folk art. Yeah, they're like $1.
Mm-hmm. There we go. Yep. And is this a dry brush that you do on initially?
This one's going to be a base coat. So when you do a base coat, what I find a lot of people do is they try to preserve the black lining. They try to purposely avoid the black lining. Don't do that. Okay. The reason why I'm saying is that we can get shading that way naturally using our technique. But this brown paint, you want to get all over the mini. Like, get it in good spots. Here, I'll show you if I can bring it up to you and show you that. You see, it's well in there.
Oh, yeah, I see it. It looks good.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's well in there. Okay. All right. So this is the fun part. Okay.
Let's see. I gotta go back here and I'm looking at the chat a little bit of looking at that. There's a fabric hardener works great to seal your project and build. Fabric it means. It's Pavrapol. I'm not sure if that's striking a bell. Does that sound familiar to you, Michael, or Ray? On like sealing a product? You have to talk to us more about that one, Gerard, because that one I haven't heard of. I haven't heard of that one either to seal it. That sounds good.
Yeah, that sounds actually. I would actually try something like that.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah. All right. So what I'm doing here is taking some of the browns, and again, I don't know. For me, when I'm doing kind of this stonework techniques that I like to use or improve upon, a lot of it is my mixing of paints. You know what I mean? Like just getting used to the fact of getting, you don't have to buy 15,000 different browns.
Right.
Just getting the primary color, a lighter color, and then trying to make what you're trying to achieve. What I'm doing here now is going to go over the bricks, and then I'm just picking out a couple of the bricks to color.
Yep.
And this is a very basic technique, but the only thing that I would say is a little bit different is you want to try to have the brighter colors on the outside of the model.
Okay.
And if you can, try to have the brighter colors above, above versus having them below here. Like you want to have the majority of the brighter colors at the top half of the model.
Okay.
And what I also try to do here as well is avoid putting any differentiation on the archway. So leave the archway alone for now.
Don't touch the archway right now.
Yeah,
Cool.
don't touch the archway. Yeah, try not to touch that at all.
I'm going to just go ahead and just paint the way I'm used to here, if that's
Perfect.
okay.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, if you guys have a way of doing stone, go by all means. Yeah, let's see.
And what was that first color down on the stone work there, Ray?
I just used a leather brown, so it's a little bit of a lighter brown.
Mm.
And yeah, and then what I did from there is I just darkened or lightened it with a little bit of white, just to give me again a little bit of contrast.
Okay.
And, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Oh, I know I have a lighter brown in here somewhere. That burnt is this a this is a burnt umber. It's a little darker. That one
Yeah.
for the face.
Get it on camera. Yeah.
This is the one I got. Try this. I'm gonna try a little bit lighter. Okay.
Okay.
Well, I have a new what is this? This is a steel gray. I'm
Hey,
gonna
try
try
it out.
this steel
Yeah,
gray that I've never used
try it
on
out.
stone before.
Absolutely.
And then I'm
Absolutely.
gonna
Actually, it'd be
go ahead.
see if we all do different colors and meet in the middle. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so I'm putting on a gray here after I've done some colors. I'm just doing a light brushing of gray as the first dry brush of color over the base. And then I'm just going to fan out to lighter browns and eventually get to the point where I'm doing light taupe to parchment white.
Okay.
And then the last dry brush is going to be a solid white, but it's going to be little to nothing. You shouldn't see a difference.
Okay. Copy that. That's a very layered dry brushing that you've got going on there. That's gonna produce some lovely color.
And that's for me is like where I try to, when I'm dry brushing, I try to layer up on it. So it's a lot of subtle dry brushing to get there. I don't want to say I don't own an airbrush, so I couldn't tell you the difference between that, but for me at least, it's like you get the wispiness of it, and then as it kind of changes color, you can control like where you're putting shading, etc. Okay. And as I said, none of this makes sense sometimes. It's just stuff I tell myself.
I say it works, and
I
sometimes
say
it
it
does
works.
until it doesn't, and then I try something
Yeah, right.
else.
Then I try something else.
All right.
Oh man,
Trial and error.
that's all it is.
Let's see. What else is it? They are, man. The conversation about this sealer is, it's in there.
Is it picking up?
Yeah, they're talking about. Gerard was telling everyone about
Mhm.
this new sealer technique. Gerard's saying we'll have to do it on the new stream. So next time
Nice.
he might sounds like he's gonna be hopefully back on the stream next week.
Yeah,
And
yeah, yeah, yeah.
if he comes on, we'll have to talk about this new way
Oh,
of
that's cool.
sealing stuff.
Yeah, yeah. I think it's a very important step. I will tell you that right now.
Yeah.
Particularly if you're spending all this time and effort just to have, you know what I mean? Like just to have it ruined by outside factors.
Yeah. It's major bummer.
Yeah,
Major.
yeah, yeah. We should
Just I can't have it all.
know that they're painting off camera.
So on average for you Ray, are you going live every time you sit down to craft, or is it something that you just do every night? Like, how often do you try to
Yeah.
stream from your account?
I usually stream. I used to stream every day at 12. Like it was
Okay.
one of those things where we did that. But as I'm kind of going through a lot of things right now, just kind of getting everything prepared. We got a lot of. I guess the best way to put it is that I took about a 3 week break from streaming,
Yep.
um, and I'm planning on getting back to it. But I've kind of made a promise to myself where it was like I wanna be sure that everything is at peace before I go at that venture again, because I really do enjoy it, but it definitely takes a lot of time out of my day, you
Right.
know?
Right.
Yeah. So I mean, I think the part for me though is I would stream. I know for at late at night, like at 3 o'clock, I would stream most that one's for me. Like it's usually it's just like, I've got some friends that join X, Y, and Z, but or followers from the Asia area. Um but then also we had it where I would do it at like 5 o'clock because I always thought to myself, okay, people are getting off work, you know what I mean?
Right.
So yeah. But yeah, typically I try to stream when I'm working. I think the biggest one for me is if I'm working on a big project, I'm gonna stream that project. You know what I
I
mean?
see. Yep.
Yeah, yeah.
All right. Pardon the noise.
No worries.
I dare not mess with everything again. So I don't black out everyone's
Yeah.
screen.
Uh, uh,
So, um, have you worked on the door? Have you done the door yet, Ray?
which one? Yep.
You did the door? Look at you. Look at that.
And then I'm just gonna dry brush it once it gets painted out. And then,
Nice.
yep. And then I'll do some washes on it. And again, this is a subtle. What I like about this one too is again, it's you know, it's not a lot of colors. If painting isn't necessarily your strong suit when you're making terrain, something like this you can hide because it is it's rocks, it's ruin, it's not necessarily um, big parts. But I will show you if you're going to do it, how can I get more detail out of something like that? You
Dude,
know,
look at
so
that.
and I'll show you how to do that. Got this.
Getting gonna do this. I think it'll mute it for the stream, but you
Mhm.
probably guys will be able to hear me still. So you'll hear hair. You guys will hear hair dryer.
Nice, nice. Loud and clear.
Yep.
Okay, let me get back on camera because I know I'm painting off camera. So what I'm doing here, let me get in focus, is I'm taking white and I'm directing the white on the edges of some of the stones, not all of them, some of
Oh
them,
yeah.
like that. Yeah. And what I'm
Picking
trying
up
to
the what is it, the I can't remember the lighting effect, but
yeah.
where the as it trickles down and picking up those edge highlights, it looks
It's like oh, it's that's exactly it. It's kind of like OSL.
yeah.
And so what I'm trying to do here is I don't put a lot of the white on the edges other than the top. So I try to stay away from like the edge sides in here. And when I'm trying to do this, you don't get all the stones, but you get a good healthy amount of them. And then when I'm done with that, I'm gonna do the same thing and take a darker color and kind of paint the bottom sides. Yeah.
Dude, this pewter. See if I can
Yeah. There you
do this.
And that is all she wrote, guys. Look at that.
Dude, Look at that.
Just put a little bit on the edges here.
That
But
looks great. That cork that you were talking about there, Ray,
yeah,
looks really, really good.
and that's what it is. I personally like it when you're putting the cork there because again, you get a flat surface. If you want, you can stack it to kind of get a little bit more breakage, but
Mm-hmm.
it looks like the wall has crumbled. And the cool thing about it is if you want to do sconces, now you have like what I like to do with these, if you're going to bring it up again, is get paper clips,
Yeah.
make a sconce there, and then just get a toothpick with some hot glue, and voila.
Oh, that's so cool.
Yeah, it's a torch. Cool.
It's ready to go,
It's
dude.
ready to go. Yep.
Well, I definitely didn't get as far as I didn't. Mine's it's getting there. I'm in the dry brushing. I'm in the dry
Yeah,
brushing
yeah,
stage, but
yeah.
like, it's this is an awesome build. What a cool build to have, and a versatile piece for the tabletop, man. This is rad.
The reason also I wanted to show you guys this is because if you don't decide to use this as a door, all you'd have to do is get some you can put like a little bit of a glued base here
Yeah,
or a rare earth magnet, and all of a sudden you can just put your mini there as a display.
yeah,
So that's
yeah.
it. Yep.
It's a great little display
Mhm.
for the mini to have popped up there. Well, and I like
Absolutely.
to I saw too. I know I think you've done walls like this too, where you've
Yeah.
connected just series of making walls together as well,
Mhm.
haven't you?
Mhm. Yep.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah.
Yep.
This really cool piece of terrain that can be combined together, both for the dungeon tile aspect, the door
Mhm.
aspect. Um, and I love that cork. That cork on the door looks really cool.
Yeah, it's always those little small things on how to pull out more detail. I think that's it to me. Okay, this is something that I had a really good friend that was teaching me how to build terrain when I first started out, like years ago. He's an old Navy. He used to build warships,
Oh,
and
nice.
yeah, he used to build like these really cool warships. And the thing he always taught me was, most people think you have to build big to get a lot of detail. And he goes,
Mm,
if you can get the same amount of detail in a small amount of space, that's what scale is for.
yeah.
So he was always like big on pushing me like that, just to kind of keep within my own creative boundaries. And that's what it was. Like you're getting little small, here's a good example of this too. If you took something like this, it's just a file, and you gored it here, and then take a little piece of rope and or string and put it looks like a mouse tail. This turns into a completely different piece. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like things like that, or a
Mm.
paper clip, and then a toothpick and a torch. Yeah, it's a whole different thing, and I love it.
It's neat to transform the terrain and how just those small details
Oh,
impact the build.
oh, 1,000%,
Hmm?
a thousand
Let's
percent.
see it,
Yeah.
Michael. You're bringing it over. Let's see it.
The light is terrible. I'm going to move the light around a little bit so you can get the lighting better.
Oh yeah,
Oh, look at that!
that looks great.
Look at that!
Well,
I can get it right, but
I think Danny sent his gremlins across the pond.
Yeah.
Our other buddy who comes on and hangs out for the stream, who joins us a
Nice.
lot often for the build, we're convinced that he has gremlins working for him under his desk. So
That's what I said about like tiny furniture. My friends are over there. I'm like, you guys have gremlins under the desk over
yeah,
there. I don't know what's happening.
oh yeah, oh yeah. Well, this has been fantastic, Ray.
Yeah.
Thank you again for joining us and showing us your modular dungeon tile doors here. This is definitely I've got this one, and I've got 3 more that are ready to
Yeah.
go today. So that's how I'm spending. I'm gonna have the kiddo bust out and sit down next to me and help me create some more of
I
these
tell
today.
you, these ones are really cool to have I have my kids help me out with this because it's like you learn grays, you learn contrast. It's a
Yeah,
really good option.
is
So
um
cool.
be sure, if you guys haven't done so, you've got a website too, Ray. We got to talk about that
Oh,
website real quick, where folks can head on over, and you've got a really cool dice tower that's up on
yeah,
the
yeah.
website there.
We've designed a dice tower and a dice holder system. And one of the differences that we're looking at too is in the next couple of weeks we're going to be throwing out some free 3D printed STL files for everybody. to create custom coins, inspiration coins.
Cool.
So if you have a 3D printer, you can print them. And the way we've designed our tower is that there's a magnetic system in the front where you can take your inspiration coin and put it right on top of it. So if you're a
Nice.
DM, you can pull it out and say, here's your inspiration. But the cool thing about that is what we've looked at to doing in our dice tower system really is customize the coins, because we feel like if you're going to throw inspiration at somebody, it's as unique as a fingerprint. So yeah, so our dice tower system this week, for up to the next couple days, or actually I think up to the 16th, it typically, we're actually doing about I think it's like 30% off.
Oh, nice.
It's about $99 for our dice tower system.
Dude, nice.
So,
and it's a really nice wooden dice tower. What's the website again, Ray? Remind me.
roamingplayergear.com. That's roamingplayergear.com. GEAR. Yeah.
Playergear.com. It's in the description of the video here, of the stream, but definitely give that a gander if you're still out there looking for Christmas ideas and gifts for your fellow D&D enthusiasts. Don't hesitate to stop on by. It's gonna be pretty rad. And also, to stay up to date, whenever Ray goes live at 3:30 in the morning on his 8th cup of coffee, make sure you stop on by Instagram and follow Ray at got_DM. That's got_DM. So you don't miss out on this is Ray does this. This is Ray's ballpark, man. This is what he does all the time, and it's more fun, goofy, good times, but also just some amazing tips on his process as he's crafting and creating some amazing stuff.
Yeah. Hey, thanks. Thanks for the invite to come over. It's interesting with this is like, it's so funny. With COVID-19, I always tell myself, you meet the most interesting people and you meet the most coolest people in the world. And having played this game for 26 years, like you're just going, I've been pleasantly surprised that every interaction I've had with majority of the community has been positive. And I'm so thankful for the invitation for both of you guys.
Oh, well, thank you for joining us, Ray. This certainly the first time, but not the last is what I like to tell everyone.
Absolutely.
This stream's not going anywhere, and it's a blast, and really appreciate you coming on, having you on, and sharing all your knowledge with us and hanging out.
Yeah,
Huge.
Thank you guys.
Thank you everyone out there in the chat and that's tuned in today for the live stream. Thank you so much for being with us. It's huge. Be sure, if you haven't done so already, please be sure to hit the like button, share this video, and subscribe to stay tuned when we go live. Looking forward to seeing you all next week. Michael, as always, thank you so much for hanging out and crafting. Ray, till the next time, everyone be well.
Everybody, thank you.
Thank you. Cheers, y'all.